we're going to kick things off. I see that we've got a lot of participants joining and many more to come. So first of all, thank you for joining us today from across the country and around the world. I'm Michael Higgs, Virtual Program Manager here at Conscious Capitalism. And on behalf of the entire CCI team, we appreciate you taking time today to learn and grow in community today. Very excited to be joined by Sam Horn. As many of you know, Conscious Capitalism is a global community of CEOs, presidents, founders, board members, entrepreneurs, and thought leaders from diverse industries, backgrounds, and perspectives who are committed to the shared purpose of elevating humanity through business. Our organization was founded in 2008 as a 501c3, and we provide a community of active operating leaders, a platform to share practical advice and tools on how our principles are integrated into different organizations and within various industries. Our community of conscious capitalists offers best practices and business strategies on how the philosophy is created, how it's applied to create sustainable success within one's business, leading to systemic change and impact in the world. Several times a month, we offer our virtual gatherings like this one as a way for the community to see how this philosophy takes shape in the leadership journeys and business practices of those in our network. Let me jump to a little housekeeping here. Today's session is going to run for about 45 minutes. This is a unique virtual gathering. So if you've attended some of our previous ones, this one is a little bit different. This is going to be interactive. So let me check one thing first, because it is going to be pivotal to the success of our time together. Just want to make sure that everyone can chat. If you could just drop into the chat where you're joining us from, that would be helpful. Lets me know chat's working. If anyone can just drop, okay, perfect. Northern California, Calgary, Boca Raton. All right, awesome. Wow, East, West, Midwest, awesome. Welcome everyone, thanks for being here. We are going to use the chat function. This is really the key to the housekeeping today. The chat function is going to be used for interactivity. What I mean by that is Sam, when we jump into our time with Sam, she is going to offer 3 tips, takeaways, best practices, and then we're going to quickly pivot to audience members responding with a question or sharing one of your challenges. The key thing we want to do today is we really, really want people to have an opportunity to present their communication challenge. Sam is here, our resident expert, and we're also going to lean into the participants to crowdsource solutions. That's kind of the key point for today's housekeeping. Q&A is off. Ignore it. Don't use it. The chat will be live and lit. Let me set this conversation up a little bit. So navigating high-pressure conversations, unavoidable reality, from weathering false accusations to managing frustrated stakeholders, these moments can make or break your impact as a leader. But what if you could turn these challenges into opportunities for clarity, collaboration, and control? Enter Sam Horn, CEO of the Intrigue Agency, and sought-after communication strategist who has taught more than 500,000 people worldwide how to transform every word into a lasting impression. In today's session, again, interactive, think of this as a personalized communication boot camp. Sam is going to share best practices. You're going to have an opportunity to present your challenge or surface your question, and then we're going to move right into those next 3 best practices. So counting on a lot of interactivity from our audience today. Very excited. Sam, I gave a little bit of an intro of your bio, but indulge me for a minute. Let me add a few more details. As I said, you're the CEO of the Intrigue Agency, a positioning messaging consultancy which helps people design and deliver TEDx talks, keynotes, fundraising pitches, and one-of-a-kind brands. You are also the CEO of the Tung Fu Training Institute, a trademark communication skills approach that teaches how to give and respect at work, at home, online, and in public. You're the author of 10 books from major publishers, including Tung Fu, Pop, Take the bully by the horns. Someday is not a day in the week. And the Washington Post bestseller got your attention. Your work's been featured in dozens of publications, including the New York Times, Forbes, Harvard Business Review, and you've been interviewed by almost every major network. You have had the privilege of speaking to more than 500,000 people worldwide for clients, including Boeing, Accenture, and National Geographic. Greg, I see. Thanks for the comment. It's like you've read Tung Fu. You love it. Sam, I've talked too much. I'm going to hand it over to you for that first round of tips for our audience.
Thank you, Michael. And I'm so glad to be here today. I hope everyone has paper and pen because, as Michael said, we're going to focus on real life situations where we don't want to be tongue-tied or tongue-twisted. We want to be able to think on our feet and respond in the moment instead of thinking of the perfect response on the way home. So grab paper and pen so you can ink it when you think it and put 3 columns on your notes. And now, as Michael said, I've identified 6 situations that we all face, and sometimes we don't know what to say in that situation. Well, in the middle, put infobesity. In the right-hand column, put intrigue. In the middle, put fight. Over on the right, put flow. So here are 3 situations, and we're going to talk about how to turn infobesity into intrigue and fight into flow. And now, Michael, hold me accountable for this. It's 4 minutes for each. 4 minutes, 4 minutes, 4 minutes, then over to our group. And please be putting into chat a question or a situation where you would like to know what to say when you don't know what to say. All right, the first situation is how to introduce ourselves at a networking event, at a conference, when we're at a meeting with our peers. So in the middle, please put elevator speech. Please never again give an elevator speech. Do you know anyone who likes listening to a speech? It's one-way communication. It often ends the conversation. So here's a 2-minute example of what to do instead, and then we'll quickly unpack it. So the next time someone says, "What do?" you give an elevator connection instead of an elevator speech. So in the middle, put elevator speech. On the right, put elevator connection. So I'm speaking at Inc. 500. Now, this session was their highest rated session, and there was Jim Collins, and there was Tim Ferriss, and Seth Godin, Tom Peters, etc. So in our session, I asked Colleen, "What do you do?" Wah, 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 wah. At the end of 60 seconds, no one in the room knew what she did, and she was the CEO. I said, "Colleen, you want to play?" She said, "Is that a rhetorical question?" So I said, "What do you do that we can see or smell or taste or touch?" And she said something about magnetic, resonating, imaging devices and so forth. Finally, the light bulb went off in my head. I said, "Oh, do you run the medical centers that offer MRIs and CAT scans?" She said, "Yes." I said, "Don't tell people that." She said, "Don't tell people that," because I said, if someone says, "What do you do?" and you say, "I run the medical sites that offer MRIs and CAT scans," they say, "Oh," it ends the conversation. We don't want to end the conversation. We want to open the conversation. So over on the right, please put down number 1, what do you do that people can see or smell or taste or touch? This turns rhetoric into something that's real world. People see what you're saying. That's when they start getting it. Number 2, do not explain it. Ask, do you know anyone, could be a friend, a family member, or someone at work who has had an MRI or a CAT scan? Do you see how we just went from explaining to asking? It's already a 2-way conversation. We're only 20 seconds in. Now, she said, "Sam, what's this 3-part question?" I said, because if you meet someone and say, "Have you ever had an MRI or CAT scan?" that's way too personal. That's an interrogation. People are backing away as fast as they can. So we're giving people options. Do you know anyone? Could be yourself, someone at work, someone in your extended family who's had an MRI or CAT scan. You have increased the likelihood that they are familiar with what you do. Then we put a sock in it, and they may say, "Oh yeah, my daughter hurt her knee playing soccer. She had an MRI." Now we link what we do to what they just said. Oh, I run the medical facilities that offer MRIs like the one your daughter had when she hurt her knee playing soccer. Oh, the eyebrows go up. They get it. They relate to it. They're more likely to remember it. And now we're off on a meaningful conversation. So, elevator connection, what do you do that people can see, smell, taste, touch? Ask, don't explain. Do you know anyone? Could be blank, 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 who has done this, this, this. Listen, and then link what you do to what they just said. You're off on a meaningful two-way conversation, all in under 60 seconds. Michael, you ready for our second best practice?
Absolutely, bring it.
Okay, next one. Please put down over on your left, and Michael brought this up in his intro, accusation. Someone accuses you of something that isn't true or that you didn't do. Guess what? In the middle, put deny. Do not deny it, because if you deny it, if you refute it, you'll often end up reinforcing it and arguing their point. Here's an example. I'm speaking at a leadership conference, and in the Q&A, a woman put her hand up and she said, Sam, why are women so catty to each other? Now, I knew that if I answered that question, I would be reinforcing that negative stereotype about women. So in the middle, put deny. Over on the right, put redirect. Because what I said is, and here are the words, do you know what I found? Do not repeat the negative accusation or you reinforce it. Instead say, do you know what I found? I think women are real champions of each other. I wouldn't have this speaking engagement if it hadn't been for my mentor. So on the right, say what you do want to be on the record, what you do want to be known for, instead of refuting their accusation. Now let's give another example. You're all in business, you're running big businesses or in charge of a department or project. Say someone says, you don't care about your customers. If we say, we do too care about our customers, we're arguing with our customers about whether we care about our customers. So in the middle is put refute, and over on the right say, what do you mean? Because if we say, what do you mean? They may say, well, I've left 3 messages and no one's called back. The real issue. Now we can address the real issue instead of reacting to their attack. I am so sorry that you've called and no one's called back. And, what is it that you wanted? Do you see how? Don't deny, redirect, don't refute, ask, what do you mean? We ready for best practice number 3, Michael?
Yes.
Okay, the next one is, what can we do when people make a mistake? Or what to do? We're giving a performance appraisal. Something has done something wrong. Someone is not performing up to standard. Well, now these principles work at work and at home, and they work in person and online. So let me share one of my favorite personal examples, and then we'll bring it back into business. I am visiting my son, Andrew Horn, in New York, and his 1-year-old son, Hero, crawls across the floor, hauls himself up on a guitar in the corner that's on a guitar stand, and he started banging on the strings. Now, in the middle, Andrew could have yanked the guitar away. He could have said, stop banging on the guitar. He could have said no, all of which would have made Hero feel bad. Instead, he said one word. Do you know what he said? Gentle. And I saw Hero's face transform in front of me. And he reached back to the guitar and went strum, strum, strum. He reached up to some bells on the window. He went ring, ring, ring. And in that moment, Hero made music. And it was because instead of shaming his behavior, he shaped his behavior. In the middle, if somebody does something wrong, if someone's not performing, we're not going to shame them. We're going to shape them. Instead of criticizing him for doing it wrong, he coached him on how to do it right. So instead of losing face over that mistake, he will learn from that mistake. My dad used to say, we can't motivate someone to do better by making him feel bad. So if you're doing a performance appraisal, instead of focusing on what they did wrong with the word should, well, you should have let us know that you were falling behind on that project. Well, you should have let us know that the supply chain was making a delay. The word should has no constructive value. Instead, shape with next time, from now on, in the future. Now we're being a coach instead of a critic. They are learning from their mistakes instead of losing face over their mistakes. They're feeling better instead of bad. And that is how handling a mistake can help people do better next time instead of just feeling bad about what they did last time. Michael, time for questions, comments.
All right. We got a couple comments from Greg. I do want to just pause before we jump into some reflections that Greg has captured as you were sharing those 3 tips. But again, this is the opportunity if you have a communication challenge that is couched in those 3 tips that Sam just shared, bring them to the group. Let us know. Sam's here to help you. So I'm going to pause for a moment and just keep an eye on chat if anyone has anything that they'd like to bring as a challenge.
And by the way, Michael, we have a great group, very experienced, sophisticated leaders and managers. I love success stories too. So if someone has, it's like, hey, I used that and this is what happened. It was far better than what would have happened if I'd said, words to lose what was on the tip of my tongue. So success stories are also welcome.
Wonderful. Awesome. We do have a quick question. This came to us just both as hosts and panelists. So I won't disclose the attendee's name. Maybe you wanted some anonymity there, but the question for you, Sam, is what are your thoughts if someone is making themselves feel bad?
Oh, wow. What a great question. Okay. If someone is self-talking and taking themselves down a depression spiral and so forth, focusing on what they did wrong instead of how they could do it right, I would, I would quote, let's see, Louise Hay, who said, you've tried criticizing yourself and it didn't help. How about focus on what you're doing well instead of what you're doing wrong? So if we are talking ourselves into a state of we're undermining our own self-esteem, that we are taking the wind out of our own sails, I would ask ourselves this: what did I learn from that situation? How could I keep that from happening again? What could I do next time to be more effective? I lived on a ranch growing up, and the cows got out one time in the middle of the night. They're all on the county road, and the blaming began. And my dad intervened, and he said, we can blame each other and bellyache, or we can get busy. So if we're making ourselves feel bad, I guess I would ask myself, is blaming myself for what went wrong helping? Is belly aching about how unfair the situation is or how much I regret it, is it helping? And if it's hurting instead of helping, is to use the words from now on. From now on, I'm going to remember to do that. Next time that happens, I'm going to choose to do that in the future. And in that way, instead of being reactive, we're being proactive. And that's when we help instead of hurt, whether it's ourselves or others.
Wonderful. Greg, I see you're you're already an advanced student. Greg had made a comment as you were sharing the tip, Sam. Ask what can we learn from this? We did have a let's see, Tara is jumping in. Let's see, elevator connection example, please, for an herbalist who pivoted from a brick and mortar to now teaching classes on natural health and plant medicine online.
Okay.
So looking for an elevator pitch example.
Okay. Number one, once again, do not explain what you do, because if we say, I'm an herbalist who specializes in plant medicine and I used to be in corporate, etc., we've lost them at hello. So I would ask for, I would brainstorm first. What are 3 problems that people are facing? Or what are 3 struggles that they're having? Or what are 3 things that they would want to have? So I would say, do you know anyone? Could be yourself, could be an extended family member, could be someone at work who is having, okay, this is herbalist plant message, who is experiencing brain fog or is can't get to sleep at night, or who is just for some reason has low energy. I would pause, and they would say, well, that's myself. I can't, I can't concentrate in the afternoon. I can't get to sleep at night. And, I'm just tired the moment I wake up. Once they give us that free information, I would ask one more question. I would say, well, how long has this been going on? Or what have you done about it up until now? And they may say, well, I've been to 5 doctors and they tell me my labs are fine and that I'm fine, but I know I'm not fine. Then we say, I help people like yourself who are dealing with these symptoms to finally get the energy that they want, need, and deserve, to finally get a good night's sleep, and to do so naturally and organically and safely in a way that gets results in days instead of not at all. So do you see, think about, okay, what are people complaining about? What's wrong that they want an answer for? What don't they have that they want to have? And ask, and keep it to 3. Do you know anyone who's doing this, this, this? The goal is then for to say, oh yeah, my sister, you're describing her to a T. And then we ask one more question to get one more free information. And then I have the privilege of helping people like your sister who is dealing with symptoms like that, get this type of relief or this type of result in a certain amount of time. And now you have a meaningful conversation, once again, in 60 seconds.
Well, we are getting exclamation points, all caps. Thank you from Tara to you, Sam. I do, Leslie Pagel has presented us with a challenge. Before we jump to the next 3, do you want one more, Sam?
One more, and then we're going to rock and roll with 3 more best practices. Leslie,
right.
let's hear it.
Let's do this. So Leslie says, how do you get your audience to realize / discover that something they perceive as not possible is indeed possible?
I love these questions. Keep them coming. Okay, everyone in their no, in the middle, put no, and in the right, yes. So you have someone resisting an idea, someone who's not on board with the idea, someone who has objections. Is that we're just going to cut right to the chase over on the right, anticipate and voice their objection. So if you're going to be pitching something and they think, well, we tried that before and it didn't work, or, well, that's a lot of money, I can't afford that. If whatever they're thinking, say it. Because if we don't say it, they're not listening. They're sitting there with their mental arms crossed, telling us why this won't work. So if they're thinking, well, that's going to take too long, we say, you may be thinking. Notice I didn't say, I know you're thinking. That's presumptuous. You may be thinking that this is going to take too long, or you may be thinking that you tried this before and it didn't work out. Second step, acknowledge with and. Get rid of that word but. In my Tung Fu book 25 years ago, I introduced that the word but cancels out the conversation. It is the #1 cause of conflict. Well, I hear what you're saying, but. Well, I know it's important to you, but. Well, you did a good job on that, but. So get rid of that word but and use the word and. So I understand you tried this before and it didn't work out. And, I'm glad you brought that up. Third step, make it moot. In other words, what can you say that will remove that doubt, or that will neutralize that objection, or that will address that pushback? And that's why we have identified what went wrong last time, so how we can keep it from happening this time. And now, if you want to turn a no into a yes, there's one more way to do it. Richard Branson said, time is the new money. And I think time is the new trust. And do you know how anxiety is defined? 2 words: not knowing. The clock starts ticking the second we start talking. And if we do not address time at some level, people are in a state of anxiety and they're resenting us for holding them hostage because they're thinking, how long is this going to take? So step #4 is announce and take less time than they think this is going to take. So if you say, I know you're busy and may I have 2 minutes of your time? If they're pushing back and say, you know, this meeting was going to take an hour, I know you're busy. We've distilled it into 20 minutes. You have sent your concerns or your questions or your doubts about this, and we're going to address them in the next 5 minutes. Thank you for submitting those. How you can have people at hello instead of lose them at hello.
Wonderful. So Karen, I do see your question. We're going to take that as the first question after the next set of tips. So thank you for the question, Karen. We'll take that as the first one. But Sam, if you want to jump to the next round of tips.
You bet. And now, so because people are going, Sam, you're going so fast, I can't write it down. So very quickly, situation is on the left. The first one we talked about is introduction. And we're going to turn in the middle an elevator speech, into the right, into an elevator connection. Our second situation was some kind of negative accusation. In the middle is deny, in the right is redirect or refute. And what do you mean? Third example was a mistake or someone's done something wrong. And in the middle, we put shame. In the right, we put shape. We put critic and coach, lose face and learn, bad and better, and should and next time. So now let's talk about what to do when people complain. Right in the middle, I'm just going to give you the answer to the test. Put explain. Because if people complain and we explain, explanations come across as excuses. They actually make people angrier because they feel we're not being accountable. Over on the right, put A train. A for agree, A for apologize, A for act. Now let me give a personal situation, and I bet you're already thinking how you can use this on the job in your company as well. So there was a gentleman, and we had talked about this, and he was going to pick his wife up after work. There was an accident on the highway. You know, by the time he got down there, he could see his wife pacing back and forth on the curb. He pulled up. She yanked the car door open. She said, "You were supposed to be here an hour ago." What did he do in the middle? Explain. "Don't blame me. I've been stuck in traffic all this time." She said, "How was I supposed to know that? You should have at least called or something. My battery was dead. I couldn't call." Back and forth. Do you see that explanations set up a ripple effect of resentment? Over on the right, imagine if what he said, those two important words that turn conflict into cooperation. "You're right. I was supposed to pick you up an hour ago." A for apologize. "And I'm sorry you ended up waiting all this time." A for act. "And from now on, if I'm going to pick you up on a Friday, I'm building in a cushion for Murphy's Law." Now, sometimes people push back and say, "Why should I apologize? I didn't do anything wrong." Have you heard the saying, "We can be right or we can be happy"? See, I think we can apologize even when it's not our fault. And we're not saying we're to blame. We're commiserating with their inconvenience. We're putting ourselves in their shoes and understanding what it was like for her for an hour not to know if he was in some ditch somewhere, if he'd forgotten. And when we say, "You're right, I apologize, and here's what we're going to do," now we're accountable and we're on the same side instead of side against side. Ready for our next tip?
Yes, please.
Okay. Put on the left complex. Say you have a complex idea that you're going to propose. Say that you have a project and it's kind of difficult to explain or something. So if you have something complex that you want to get across, please put in the middle forgettable, because complex explanations are infobesity and they are forgettable. They go in one ear, out the other, and we will not get a yes. If people don't understand it, they won't approve it, they won't say yes to it. So over on the right, we're going to make it repeatable, retweetable. We're going to make it memorable instead of forgettable. So right now on your notes, think of an upcoming communication where you're going to be suggesting something, asking something, recommending something. Here's my question to you. What is the change you want people to make? What is the action you want them to take? What
Mm.
is the change you want them to make? What is the action you want them to take? Get that down into one sentence, and then we're going to turn it into an airtight soundbite. Please write down A for alliteration, I for iambic meter, and R for rhyme. This is how to make something forgettable, repeatable, retweetable. Now, I think I only have about 90 seconds left, so we're gonna rock and roll on how to do that. Just hear yourself is like Best Purchase, Dunkin' Croissants. It's Rolls Jaguar, clunky, right? No, make them alliterative. Bed Bath and Beyond, Dirt Devil, Best Buy. Alliteration gives people a hook on which to hang a memory. Look at that sentence and play with it until you have words that start with the same sound. You just made yourself instantly eloquent. You made your language lyrical. I for iambic meter. When you put it in a beat, you make it easy to repeat. When you put it in a beat, I love it, Michael.
You had me bopping.
Now, this is not petty. This is profound and profitable. Las Vegas said that what happens in Vegas stays in Vegas has generated more than $1 billion for that city. So see, what's your tagline? What's your marketing campaign? What's your idea? Don't let it be clunky. Make it catchy. Once again, it is not petty. It is profound and profitable. Now let's come down to R and rhyme. You may be thinking, oh, okay, Sam, it's clever, it's cute. No, what we're talking about can change lives and save lives. The US government was concerned about injuries and fatalities in car accidents. So they mounted a multi-million-dollar public service campaign, and they named it Buckle Up for Safety. Nothing happened because, as Duke Ellington said, it don't mean a thing if it ain't got that swing. They went back to the drawing board, and this time they came up with click it or ticket. Guess what? Compliance went up, injuries and fatalities went down. Folks, if you want to stay top of mind instead of out of sight, out of mind, what change do you want people to make? What action do you want them to take? Turn that sentence into an airtight sound bite. People are much more likely to remember it, act on it, and share it, and take it viral. We got time for one last best practice, Michael?
We do, indeed.
Okay. Number one, put down proposal. You're going to propose something. You've got a new startup that you are excited about. You've got a cause that you care about. You have, a product that you're launching or whatever. In the middle, please put explain. Whatever you do, do not explain it. That's infobesity, in one ear, out the other. So 90-second example, and then we'll unpack it. You may know that I was the pitch coach for Springboard Enterprises, which has helped entrepreneurs generate $27 billion in funding. So Kathleen Callender of PharmaJet came up to me and she said, Sam, I got good news and I got bad news. I said, what's the good news? She said, I'm speaking to a room full of investors at the Paley Center in New York City. I said, that's fabulous news. What's the bad news? She said, I'm going at 2:30 in the afternoon and I only have 10 minutes. She said, Sam, you can't say anything in 10 minutes. I said, Kathleen, you're going at 2:30 in the afternoon. You don't have 10 minutes. You have 60 seconds. Here's the 60 seconds we came up with that not only got eyebrows up, not only got her foot in their mental door, it won millions of dollars of funding, and she was Business Week's most promising social entrepreneur of that year. Here we go, 60 seconds. Michael, you gonna time me on this one?
Timing, go.
Okay, timing, okay. Did you know there are 1.8 billion vaccinations given every year? Did you know up to a third of them are given with reused needles? Did you know we're spreading and perpetuating the very diseases we're trying to prevent? Imagine if there were a painless one-use needle for a fraction of the current cost. You don't have to imagine it. We're doing it, and she's off and running. Are your eyebrows up, Michael? Do you want to know more? Now, let's unpack it so the next time you propose something, you don't explain. Step one, ask 3 Did you know questions that have startling statistics about the problem you're solving, about the issue you're addressing, about the need you're meeting? And if you're thinking, Sam, where do I find those startling statistics? Google that stuff. Just put into search what are startling statistics about, and then the problem that you're solving, or the industry that you're addressing, or the need that you're meeting. Up will come things even you didn't know. And the quickest way to get skeptical people's attention is to introduce something they didn't know a moment ago. Now they're smarter than they were. They're going to keep listening. Step 2, the word imagine. The word imagine pulls people out of their preoccupation. They're not distraction. They're picturing your point. They are seeing what you're saying. Now link it to 3 advantages or benefits of what you're proposing. Imagine this. Imagine this. Imagine you could save this much money. Imagine it could take half the time. Imagine you could get it in a week instead of a month. And people are thinking, sounds pretty good. And now the third part. You don't have to imagine it. We're doing it. Now come in with precedents or evidence to show this isn't speculative. This is a done deal, and you and your organization are already doing it. Come in with that evidence of that testimonial, that case study. So once again, it's not opinion, it's fact. You do that in under 60 seconds, those eyebrows will be up and people will be listening and a lot more likely to find what you're saying relevant to them because of that opening 60 seconds. Michael, do we have time for some more questions, comments, success stories?
Yes, again, I want to return to a question that Karen Samet had posed prior to these 3 tips. Karen says, hi, Sam, it's Karen. I would love you to coach me on an elevator pitch for conscious capitalism. So this is going to be a benefit to all the conscious leaders that are on this call as well. So thank you for the question, Karen. She says, I love our org and I believe in the power and use too many words. So elevator pitch, conscious capitalism.
Good. Okay. And by the way, shout out to Karen, CEO of Conscious Capitalism, who is at the helm, along with her team, of spreading the mission and the movement of the triple bottom line, right? Of serving our customers, serving our employees, serving our community and our country. So kudos to you, Karen. All right, rock and roll. Here we go. I would say, do you know anyone? Could be yourself, could be another entrepreneur, could be another executive. Do you see how we are customizing the demographic by asking the question, not anyone, family member, whatever. No, do you know anyone? Could be yourself, another entrepreneur or another executive who is on a mission to create a business that serves their customers, their employees, and their community. Put a sock in it. And they would say, oh, that's my brother. You know, he's da 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 da. I would ask another question and I would say, so tell me a little bit more about how long he's been running that company or what part of the country he's in. See what part of the country or world he's in, because they may say, oh, well, he's in Boston and he's in the pharma industry or something like that. Then, do you see, Karen, you could say, you know, well, I have the privilege of running an organization that helps people like your brother. In fact, we have a chapter in Boston, or we have an event coming up on the East Coast, or something like that. You've made it meaningful and relevant to that individual, someone they know, with something tangible, a pipeline. So chances are he would say, so when is that meeting? Or how often does that chapter meet? Or what is your website? Or can I have your information? And you have just personalized that introduction in a way that is not infobesity or empty rhetoric. It is real world and relevant to them. That's just one idea. I'd love to brainstorm more with you too, Karen.
Any thoughts on that? I know we have a lot of conscious leaders on the call. You're likely affiliated with conscious capitalism in some way. Thank you, Sam. Let's go from Karen. So awesome. We'll put a bow on that one. Obviously there can be follow-up as needed, but thank you. Let's see. I do want to surface, Greg, you've been very active in chat. Thank you for that. He does have a question. He says, just commenting, I find I can share 10 things and all of them are forgettable. He said, I think humans are wired for story. You tell someone a story and they'll never forget. Just any comments on that notion that the human is wired for story?
Oh, Greg, you just threw me one right over the plate, didn't you? Okay, so now we have talked about statistics, and I believe that statistics, if they're startling and relevant, can matter. However, over on the left, put people don't care. You know, people are apathetic about this issue. They don't care about it. They don't think it's relevant or relatable to them. And in the middle, put statistics. Now, I just gave a way to make statistics relevant and meaningful. However, Greg, I agree with you. Instead of statistics, let's use a story, in particular, a dog on a tanker story. Now, if you're thinking a dog on a tanker story, what's that? Let's see if I can get this to 90 seconds. I was reading the Washington Post, and there was an article by Shankar Vedantam, and he talked about an oil tanker that had caught fire 800 miles off the Hawaii coast. Now, a cruise ship happened to be going by, and they were able to rescue the captain and the 11 people on board. The captain gave a press conference, and he talked about how grateful he and his crew were to be rescued. All he can think about is his dog, Hopget, that got left behind abandoned on that tanker. That press conference went viral, and donations started pouring in from around the world. $5, $500, $5,000. The US Navy changed the exercise area of the Pacific Fleet to search 50,000 square miles of open ocean. They found the floating tanker. They sent a C-130 to fly low to see if there's any signs of life. Here's a brown and white blur racing up and down the deck of the tanker. They mount a $250,000 rescue mission to get that dog, and they were able to safely bring Hopget back to Hawaii. Now, what's the point? Here's the point. Why did people from around the world mobilize to save one dog when there are thousands of people in their own cities and states and countries going without food, water, and shelter? It's because of something called the empathy telescope. And the empathy telescope says we can put ourselves in the shoes of one person or one dog. We can't put ourselves in the shoes of thousands. We can put ourselves in the shoes of an individual. We cannot put ourselves in the shoes of an idea or an organization. So my question to you, and thank you, Greg, for bringing this up, is instead of just trotting out features and benefits and so forth, no, what is the real life story of one individual who had a problem and now they're better off because of your product? What is the story of one customer who is facing these challenges and now they're improved because of your services? Because it is in when we tell the story of one individual, now people can relate to that, they can remember that. Now is when they care about what you care about.
Amazing. Wow, Sam. I do want to be respectful of everyone's time, your time, all the people that joined us today for the conversation. Two quick things. Leslie had mentioned that she had watched your video from the Conscious Capitalism CEO Summit. She crafted I crafted my 60 seconds and placed it, practiced it last week during a virtual presentation, and it worked beautifully. So for reference, we do on our YouTube channel, which I will provide a link to in the follow-up email from this, Sam's presentation at the 2023 Conscious Capitalism CEO Summit. So you'll have that. Also, if in the chat, if everyone could just maybe give me a bold Y as in a yes, if you want a part 2 of this. Sam was very kind enough. Okay. I'm going to zip it. Yes, 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 yes. A lot of yeses. Fantastic. Absolutely. 1,000. Okay. We're doing it. We're doing a part 2. We don't know when, but we're going to schedule it. It's going to happen, and would love to have all of you join for part 2 of talking on eggshells. We'll find a date, Sam. Thank you for being so gracious with your time, your expertise, your wisdom. I can clearly see in the chat that there's a lot of appreciation. So gratitude to you, gratitude to our attendees, and we're going to book part 2. I'll follow up with you via email.
That sounds good. And Michael, I've kept my notes. So what I promise is we'll talk about all new situations, all new stories in round 2. Sound like a plan?
That sounds like a plan. I do just want to, one last thing. If you could just, it does inform our programming. If you could just answer the survey link, takes 30 seconds. But Sam, how can people find out more about you? I want to give them an opportunity before we do a part 2 to stay connected with you. We're LinkedIn. What's the best way to stay in touch? Website?
Thank you. 2 places is you're welcome to go to my website, real easy to remember, samhorn.com. So SAMHORN.com. My TEDx talks are on there, etc. And I really post a lot on LinkedIn. My life is my lab, and I love to experience something and then immediately share it with people. So if you want more tips like this, in real time, I hope you'll follow me on LinkedIn and we can connect there as well.
Amazing. Well, there you have it, folks. Website. Yeah, Greg says, why not sambam.com?
Oh, Greg, you're on
So,
fire.
yeah, samborn.com and LinkedIn. We'll be following up with everyone with the recording of this session, as well as a part 2. Stay tuned. Thanks, everyone. And thank you, Sam. Have a great rest of your afternoon.
Welcome, and to you.